morning, everybody. Wishing you all a wonderful Shabbos from Yerushalayim. Want to share a thought on the Parsha this week. So there's a moment where Moshe has just killed the Egyptian aggressor, and then the next day, two Israelites are fighting with one another, and Moshe steps up and says, "Hey, why are you acting in this evil way towards one another?" And one of them turns to Moses, and says, "Are you going to kill us just like you killed the Egyptian?" And at that moment, Moshe says, "Oche noda hadavar." At that moment, Moshe says, now the matter is known. Now, the simple understanding of that is that Moshe means that the matter that he had killed this Egyptian is now known. But Rashi tells us another interpretation. Moshe was troubled. He was wondering, why are the Jewish people suffering so much? What is it that has put us in this situation where we're slaves in Egypt, where we're being tortured and punished every single day? And all of a sudden, when he saw that Jewish people were speaking negatively, in a harmful way towards one another, at that moment, he understood exactly why they were suffering in this way. That's Rashi's comment. Now, the Chavetz Chaim, the great famous Chavetz Chaim, who wrote the book on Lashon Hara, on negative speech, and who really woke up the entire Jewish world to the evils and to the danger of speaking negatively about one another, he asks a question. He says, wait a minute, I don't understand. The Medrash tells us that the Jewish people were involved in idolatry when they were in Egypt. So that's a far worse crime than speaking negatively about one another. Idolatry is one of the three major sins in Judaism. So he explains an amazing thing. He says that a person can do all kinds of bad things and all kinds of transgressions in the Torah, but if they're very careful never to speak negatively, not to speak Lashon Hara about somebody else, then the following situation happens. They'll eventually go up to Shemayim, go up to heaven, and there'll be a heavenly court case like there is for every one of us. And at the moment that the prosecutor stands up to prosecute this person for all of the transgressions that they've done, if the person never spoke negatively or tried very hard or worked very hard not to speak negatively about somebody else, then the prosecutor, measure for measure, is also not allowed to stand up and speak negatively about this person. It's an amazing thing. So when Moshe saw and understood that the Jewish people were speaking negatively about one another, that there was Lashon Hara going on, now he understood why the Jewish people were suffering as much as they were. Not because of the Lashon Hara, but because of the idolatry. But prior to that, he thought there was no Lashon Hara, there could be no prosecution against them for their idolatry. The takeaway from this, obviously, is tremendous. And it's not go out and do all the horrible things that you want in the world and just don't speak negatively about anybody else and everything will be fine. The takeaway is that we're all trying to be the best we can. We're all trying to create a spiritual life for ourselves. We're all trying to connect to Hashem. And the harmful effects and impact of negative speech, not just on the people that you're speaking about, that's obvious, but on myself, when I speak Lashon Hara, when I speak negatively about somebody else, I'm really harming myself the most. I'm creating all kinds of negative spiritual energy that allows the prosecutor to stand up against me and call out all of the other things that I'm doing. But if I'm careful, and I try very hard not to speak, and I work on it, it's not easy, but I work on not speaking negatively about other people, then I'm creating positive spiritual energy, and I'm not allowing the prosecutors, the negative spiritual forces, to come up against me. Something really to think about as we go into the beginning of the new book of the Torah, Parshat Shmos, and the book of Exodus. Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Wishing you all a wonderful Shabbos.